Hi, I'm Clayton with the Tub Repair Company, and you're about to start one of our tub repair kits. Before you get started, there's two things I want to talk to you about. The first thing I want to talk to you about is safety. Always wear a respirator whenever you're working with our products. So from the beginning to the end, this is not only going to protect you from dust and sanding debris, but also it's going to protect you against organic vapors. So when you're shopping for a respirator, if you're shopping for one like this, just be sure that these cartridges are made for organic vapor. You can also buy a disposable respirator on our website as well. So always wear that when you're working with our products. Okay, the second thing I want to talk to you about is the acetone that we send in our kits. Every kit is going to have an 8-ounce bottle of acetone with a spray nozzle. Now, the acetone it can have a negative reaction on certain materials. So most tubs are going to be fiberglass with a gel coat over the top. A lot of tubs may be like a steel-coated porcelain tub or a cast iron porcelain-coated tub. Those are going to have no trouble with our acetone. There won't be any reaction. Some of the newer tubs, some of the acrylic tubs, there's some plastic tubs out there, and then there's also a new material called a polystyrene tub. The acetone, if it gets on these materials, it can melt those materials, so you want to be careful. Now, if you have a tub that is made of one of these composites, you still can do the project, but you want to be aware of that going in. So you are more careful where this acetone gets, where maybe some reducer or catalyst gets. All of those products can have a negative impact on the surface of the tub. So one way to test that is going to be to take the acetone, spray it on a paper towel, and then wipe that paper towel on the damaged area. Use a fair amount of acetone on that paper towel, get it nice and wet, wipe it on the damaged area, and then if it gets sticky, almost like it's melting the surface, then you know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with probably a plastic or a polystyrene or something like that. So we recommend that being the very first thing that you do before you start your project at all, is to test your acetone on the damaged area and see how the surface reacts to the acetone. This will save you a little bit of a headache. Now, if it has a negative reaction, basically what you want to do is you want to be careful where any of the other product gets, and you want to keep all of your work really close to the damaged spot. So anytime you're matching color, you do swatches, do them right next to the damage. Anytime that you're wiping anything with acetone, you want to be wiping right around the damage and not all over the tub. So if you have any questions about the material of your tub, feel free to give us a call. We can take a look for you. So we'll talk to you about it. We might ask you to send us a picture. And then we just want to make sure that you know what you're getting into before you start your project. So you can definitely repair all materials with our products, but you just want to be careful with some of them. So that's it. Thank you very much, and good luck on your project. You're about to start our floor crack repair kit. Now, before you get started, I want to go through this kit and everything that's included in it. So here we go. Now, the first thing that's going to jump out is going to be 2 cans of floor support foam. This is obviously to support your floor, and you do not have to use all of this, and we'll talk more about that in the instructional video. The next thing that's going to pop out is going to be a bag. This is going to have all of your supplies in it, your rubber gloves, all of your sandpaper, as well as your stir sticks, your mixing cups, your mesh tape, and your putty spreader. So that's all of your supplies there. Next thing you'll find is going to be a large jar of glass putty. So this is going to be our reinforcement putty. The next thing you're going to find is going to be a smaller jar of finished putty. This is going to be a finished putty to give your repair a nice smooth finish. Then you're going to find a box. In that box, you're going to have a few things. You'll see a spray nozzle. This is to attach to the acetone. You're going to find a tube. This is going to be a tube of blue cream hardener, and there is enough in that tube to react both the finished putty and the glass putty. Then you're going to find a bag of supplies. So you're going to have a large bottle of acetone, and then you're going to have 4 colored resins: almond, gloss white, gold white, and gray white. And then you're going to have a reducer, a catalyst, and a primer. So all of that is in here. This is your coating material. And then finally, you're going to find a pre-valve spray system and then a backup sprayer. So this is a full pre-valve spray system with the glass jar. And then we also include a backup sprayer in case you need it, in case your initial sprayer malfunctions or anything. We don't want you to be stuck on the project. So that's really it. We'll dive into everything on how to use these products in our instructional video, but feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. Okay, here's the ideal setup of equipment. You've got a vacuum, a 5-inch orbital sander, a blow dryer. Then we have an extension cord and a 3-prong splitter. If you have this set up and you have everything plugged in, this is going to make your project go very smooth. All right, what's up guys? Thanks for purchasing our floor crack repair kit. We're going to be talking about this today, and then we're going to go into a hands-on instructional video where I actually walk you through a repair as well. But I want to essentially tell you what you're about to do and then show you how to do it hands-on, and then we'll be with you every step of the way. You can also call our customer service. You'll talk to me or another tub repair professional that can help walk you through your repair if you're uncertain about anything. Oftentimes we'll have you text us pictures of your repair. We can even FaceTime and see what you're about to get into. So don't be worried about this. This is, it's a project, but you're about to save yourself a lot of money. And we succeed on these all the time. So the biggest thing is to know what you're about to do. So let's get into that. Okay, with the floor crack repair kit, what you're going to do, the initial step that you're going to do is you're going to be drilling holes into your tub floor. And I want to talk to you about a few things. So in your kit, you're going to have 2 cans of foam. Okay, that's going to be more than enough to really fill. Once it expands, it's going to be more than enough to fill out about, 18 inches by 18 inches and kind of create a base there. So it's really going to fix a lot of weakness in your tub. So one thing I want to talk about is when you're drilling your holes, there's things you need to feel for. Okay, so I've got a tub here, and what I've got is I've got the tub floor. So this is kind of an expanded version. I've got the tub floor, and then right here I have a support board. So most bathtubs and showers are going to have a support board, which is like a 1/2-inch piece of plywood. A lot of times it's pieced in there together, and then fiberglass to the bottom of the tub. So you want to be aware of that support board. A lot of times there can be a small gap between the shower floor and the support board. I call that shallow layer support in our videos, okay? So you know what I'm talking about. And then down below that will be a bigger gap. A lot of times this is going to be anywhere from like 1, possibly up to 4 inches. Now the deeper the gap is, the harder it's going to be for that foam to fill up. It's going to be a bigger cavity. It's got to expand more, and it's just a harder thing to support. So most times you only have 1 to possibly 4 inches below your tub. As you're drilling your holes, your deep layer support, so you're going to drill all the way to the subfloor. Once you feel that subfloor and you kind of press on it, you'll know you're hitting something solid. You want to check and see how deep that is. If you can't feel the subfloor with your drill bit or the straw on the foam can, if you can't find the subfloor with that, you probably need to stop right there, get something a little longer and try to find that subfloor, a clothes hanger or something like that. That's what we recommend. Even before you purchase the kit, we're going to release some videos and instruct people to do that. But that's what we recommend, is find out how deep you're dealing with. Occasionally, now this is rare, but occasionally that subfloor will be missing. It could possibly be rotted out. if you've let your crack go for a long time and water's just been getting down there, it could be rotted out. Or sometimes on slab homes, if it's near the drain cutout on that concrete slab could actually drop down an additional like 4 to 6 inches. So the gap there would be too big. So in the event, if that ever happens, you can't find the floor, call us. Don't go any farther. You know, if you don't want to do the repair at that point, we'll take the kit back, refund your money, no problem. If you do want to proceed, we can try to help walk you through what would need to be done. And we've done that before, but just give us a call if that happens. So I want to talk about drilling the holes real quick, and you'll see it in the video. It'll make more sense, especially when you see it if we go through this. So let's say we've got about a 4 to 6 inch crack here. So you always drill out the end of each crack. So you want to put a hole there for sure. In this one, I'm putting deep layer support. So these O's are deep layer support, and then the X's are shallow layer support. So what I mean by that is on the O's, I'm drilling all the way to the subfloor, okay? And you find that subfloor, and it's gonna fill this gap and kind of spread out through there. But you also have to feel for the shallow layer support. So these X's are shallow layer support. And essentially you wanna fill that gap too, otherwise your repair is less likely to hold for the long term. So be aware of that, take your time. The key is you're using a 5/16 inch drill bit, and you're just gonna drill your deep layer first, find that subfloor. As you're going through, go slow, don't just pound right through it, but go slow. As you get through the tub floor, you should feel possibly a small drop, maybe a 1/4 inch, and then you'll hit a little bit more resistance, and then that'll be that support board, and then you go through that, you'll feel a larger drop and you'll hit the subfloor. That is generally what happens. So feel for it. Now, a lot of people say, well, my foam didn't come snaking out when I was filling the deep layer support. That's probably going to be true. In the deep layer support, that foam has enough area to spread, and it's not going to shoot back up. Now on the shallow layer support, it is more likely to shoot back up. Now when you're pumping your foam, let's say you're pumping deep layer support here and you've got your other holes drilled, watch those other holes. If you start to see that foam going over in that direction, you're probably good. Move over to that one, spray a little bit, and just spread these out. Now it's going to be better, especially if you're working on a small repair. You don't have to use your full can. One full can is going to be about, almost a 8 by 8, inch, depending on how deep the gap is, blob of foam. And especially when it expands, it's gonna support about a 8 inch by 8 inch area. So you do not have to use both cans of foam. In fact, if you put too much foam down there, it would take longer for it to set up. One thing you can do is if you get a lot of foam down there, you don't feel like it's setting up very well, is you can take a space heater in your bathroom and make sure that bathroom's nice and warm. That's gonna, as that foam gets more in a warmer environment, it's gonna kind of force it to expand and cure. So if you run into that, be aware that's an option. 2 cans of foam, you should not run the risk of pressing up your tub floor. The one thing I would say is most tub floors that are fiberglass, they're gonna be stiff enough and it's not gonna be an issue. If you have a plastic tub floor and let's say you drill a hole in your crack and there is styrofoam below the tub floor, be careful on those projects because that styrofoam, it's just gonna be hard to get a firm foundation under there because you have styrofoam under there, and a plastic tub floor is going to be a lot weaker. So be careful putting the foam under there. If you put foam down and it starts to press the floor up, get something heavy, something 50 pounds, a board and like 50 pounds, and just set it down on top of there while it cures, and just keep that floor pressed down. So just heads up on that. If you have any questions, just give us a call. We're here to help you. We want to save you money. So that's a quick little demonstration. You will see how we do this in our video. So stay tuned. Give us a call if you have any questions. Thanks. All right, guys, this is going to be a standard floor crack. So this is about 6 inches long, maybe 7 inches long. It's got this Flex Seal over the top. So Flex Seal can be good. It'll seal out the water, but it's not going to add support. And a lot of times if you put Flex Seal on and keep using your tub, your crack's just going to get bigger. So be careful about that. Now, look at this tub. You see how it's soft right there? Definitely soft on the right side for sure. Um, and so we need to address that and firm it up first. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to start foaming. Okay, now whenever you get ready to foam, you want to use a 5/16" drill bit. That's going to be the smallest drill bit that will fit our foam straw. Now I'm going to find the end of each crack. And here I'm going to start drilling on the first end of the crack. Now watch. As I'm drilling, I'm just taking my time. I'm not pressing too hard. And you see how it just dropped through the tub floor, and then I hit a little support right there. That's the shallow layer support. And then you see how I dropped again. Then I hit the subfloor, and that's firm, real firm support. That is the deep layer support. So be aware of that. So watch. I'm drilling. I'm not pressing terribly hard. Just going through it, and there. I hit the shallow layer support. So there's a small gap in there. But I want to go ahead and do deep layer support on this. So I push through it. I get to the deep layer support. So those are going to be my deep layer holes. Now, on the outside here, I'm just going to go to the shallow layer support. So I'm drilling. And you see how the floor kind of released up and I hit that. There's a little gap there. There's about a 1/4 inch gap there. So that's the shallow layer gap that I was talking about. Now I'm doing the same on the other side of the crack. So basically you want to fill both those gaps, and this is how you do it. So there I've got shallow layer support on either side of the crack and then deep layer support on the ends of the crack. All right, guys, here are the 2 cans of foam that you're going to get. I've already detached the straw. Generally, those will be just taped on the side there. Now, I want to show you just kind of how much foam you're going to be getting in here. So when you're doing this, you really want to be between 65 and 80 degrees in your bathroom. Be aware if it's colder outside, maybe you have a crawl space home, it could be colder under your bathtub than it actually is in your bathroom. So putting a space heater in there and kind of warming up the area can help this foam set up. Especially if you get too much foam underneath the tub in the gap and it's constricted, it may take a lot longer to set up. We've had to wait, overnight sometimes to get that foam to set up. We've even had to put space heaters in there, really warm up the bathroom and wait overnight. So if you put too much foam in there, you may be looking at having to do that. But I want to show you, you don't have to use both cans depending on how much space you're trying to do. Our floor crack repair kits, they're going to handle up to about a 9-inch crack, no problem. Possibly a little bit more, but 9 inches is pretty safe bet. So I want to just kind of show you. We're going to spray out a can, show you that, spray out 2 cans, kind of show you what kind of an area we can cover with it. And then I'll time lapse it and you can kind of see it grow. It doubles in size. So, if you've got a 3-inch gap under there, it's going to fill it up. So you just want to be sure it's firm before you go forward after the foam step. So always shake it up real well, like I said. And then when you're going, you want to find your subfloor. So this would be like deep layer support here, okay? Find your subfloor, you're going to do deep layer support first. So then just pull it up a little bit and go ahead. See how it's kind of already just spreading out? So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead, let's say we have about a 3-inch gap, but if you had a 1-inch gap, that's going to work because that's going to get bigger. So I'm going to go there, a little bit more. It's going to kind of press up there. Now let's say I've got another hole here. I want to fill this. Okay, so then I've got another hole here. I'm going to fill this. Okay, and then another hole here. I'm going to fill this. Okay, so this is a big repair. Okay, so one can, and you don't need to just pump it. I mean, if you just keep pumping it, it's going to kind of just fill it out there. But if you just do one can in one spot, it's going to be hard for that all to expand. So you do want to be aware, space out your can. And then one thing I do recommend, we're about out of this one, we'll go ahead and finish it. One thing I recommend is go ahead and do your deep layer support, and then get some in your shallow layer support. I would probably go deep layer support, get that to where it's getting pretty full. And then I would go ahead, when you got about a third of the can left or something, go ahead and hit your shallow layer support, and you'll see that spread a lot easier. It's not going to take much foam on your shallow layer support, because that's generally only going to be, like I said, 1/4 inch, maybe an 1/8 inch. You do want to fill that gap, but it's not going to take much foam to fill that gap, and you'll see it spread. Once you see it spreading, you're good, you're done. So that's one can, okay? So that's a pretty good size area. Now, I'm gonna let that set up, but I am gonna go ahead and I'll bring this repair over a little bit, and show you kind of where we're looking at now. Now, like I said, a lot of times, sometimes people will, they'll shoot like 2 cans like in one hole, and you don't want to do that. Okay, you want to spread it out. You want your deep layer support holes to be, probably 4 inches apart, 4 to 5 inches apart. And if your repair area is right in here and you're not sure you're getting a spot, you can go back and spray more foam or drill in between the holes, and get a little bit more down there. You're going to cover it all up anyway with your repair. So if you got to drill holes in between just to make sure you're getting little gaps, like right here could be a little gap. So, I might want to drill a hole down in there, get it down in the deep layer support, and then, that's good. See, it doesn't take much. And then, you could even go over here, spray it. See, what I like about our foam is that our foam actually spreads better than any other foam that we found on the market. Most foams, the way they're pressurized or the way they come out, they're going to shoot and they're going to just bubble, like just create a mound. Ours actually spreads, so I love that about our foam. And see, I've got about 2/3 of a can left. This is really covering a lot of area. Now, if you've got, kind of a deeper gap, might go back around, make sure you're getting, all of it filled up. And then the shallow layer support, you want to get that. But this, I'm essentially just showing you like 2 cans of foam. Okay, and then if you get little drops or something fall on your tub somewhere else, just leave it. This stuff is super sticky, so don't touch it. Just, like that, let it dry, come back in a couple hours. It's going to be expanded. It's going to be hard. It won't be sticky. Just pop it off. It's no problem. So, this kind of gives you an idea. This would be like 2 cans. It's really going to spread a lot. So if you have like a 1-inch gap down there, you're probably not going to need to use the second can. So be aware of that. If you've got a 3-inch drop, in the deep layer support, 2 cans of foam is probably going to be enough, especially if you're dealing with that 9-inch crack or so. You've got 3 inches down there. You're going to want to do something like this. So you'll have, deep layer support here, deep layer support here, probably a deep layer support there in the middle, and possibly, around it. So just spread them out, spread out your holes. You're going to repair it. It's going to be strong. But you just want to set a solid base like this. So I'm going to time lapse this and just show you how it expands, and then we'll go forward and keep talking about this repair. Okay, so this is 2 cans. It's been 2 hours. So that time lapse you just saw was 2 hours. Okay, it's pretty set up, but it's not fully set up. So it should be a lot firmer whenever you go back to work on your project. It should be a lot firmer, but it's not going to be fully cured possibly. So if it's not very firm, if you think it's not setting up very well, you might put a space heater in your bathroom, warm it up. Keep in mind, it can be cooler under your tub, especially if you have a crawl space and it's wintertime. But, essentially we're looking at about, 6 inches tall here. So this is going to press it up some, not bulge it up, but it is going to cause some upward pressure. It's also, if you have that tub floor there, it's going to expand a little bit more outward than upward. So this would be a very large, this is every bit of 12 inches of support here. So that's 2 cans of foam. So you don't have to use 2 cans of foam, especially if you're only dealing with about a 1 inch gap down there. Likely 1 can of foam is going to be enough. If you get 2 cans of foam, it can slow down the curing process. So be aware of that. If you have any issues, give us a call. So that is the foam. We really caution you not to, if you're not sure, it's better to break up the foam. So if you aren't sure how much to put in there, start with 1 can, give it a couple hours, see how it feels. If it's still soft, if you still feel like some voids, then do the second can. We really caution you, don't go out and buy more foam and put 4 cans of foam or something underneath your tub at one time. That can be a problem. So don't do that. It's better to do, 1 can, wait a couple hours, do the second can, wait a couple hours. If you have not got a firm foundation by that second can, give us a call. We'll see. We might be able to help you out somehow. We'll have to look and see what's going on. But, 2 cans, you should be good to go. Just be aware of how much gap you got down there, how much area you're trying to fill. A lot of times 1 can can be enough. A lot of tubs don't have that deep gap. So anyway, that's a foaming demonstration. Give us a call if you have any questions. All right, what's up guys? So that foam demonstration, this is fully cured after 24 hours. Generally that's about how long it's going to take for it to fully cure. So at this point we're super happy with how hard it is. This stuff it's going to hold your weight, especially the way tubs are designed, is they're going to have basically a half inch support board fiberglass to the bottom side of your tub, and then you'll have your fiberglass floor of your tub, and that will be setting down on this. So creating even more, it's spreading out your weight on this foam, and it's going to be a solid support. So give us a call if you have any questions. Take your time on this, do it right. Set a firm foundation first, even if it takes you overnight and it takes you two different foamings. Set aside that first day, foam it once, give it a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, and then go back and foam it again if you have to. But we recommend splitting up those cans. So anyway, good luck. Let us know if you have any questions. Okay, so now we're about to foam this repair. So always shake up your foam really well before you use it. Make sure your bathroom's warm enough. And I'm going to go ahead and start in the deep layer. And you want to just go ahead and fill that up. Now, one thing to be aware of is you would want to wear glasses, some safety glasses during this step. It can, if you try to spray foam into a hole that has no room to expand in, it can shoot back out at you. So be aware of that. Definitely recommend wearing glasses during this step. So here I'm just putting a little bit in the first deep layer. That was probably a quarter of a can. Went over to this one, probably put about a third of a can in there. So I'm just really trying to set up that deep layer foundation first, but then I'm going to check my shallow layer and see how that's spreading. Now, at first it might take a second, but you'll see how it starts to come out of that back hole back there. So you're starting to get good coverage there, that I've got it spreading over there. Now these holes were, especially on the ends of the crack, they were a bit farther than 4 inches apart. So I just wanted to be sure that I was going to get uh, good coverage there in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and drill. I went ahead and drilled an additional hole right in the middle of everything. First, I'm going to go shallow layer support. Make sure we've got good coverage on the shallow layer support. Um, and then we'll go deep layer support on that same hole. So you can do that sometimes. You can drill the hole to the shallow layer support, foam it, and then drill it to the deep layer support. But it's hard to get it to go in the shallow layer support real well if you just go in the deep, if you have a deep hole, because it'll just go straight down. Um, so anyway, be aware of that. You saw how it spit out there whenever I tried to spray that last bit of that foam. So that's why you want to wear those safety glasses. Um, and then I just use a little bit of the second can. This is, one can. I've probably got decent coverage under there already, but I am just checking to make sure. Now keep in mind, as you're working on a project like this, just keep in mind kind of like how weak the crack is when you initially start. And like if it's easy just to like press down and it's just kind of flopping there, then be careful. It's going to be a little more prone to bowing up. Now, if it's pretty stiff, this one I consider to be pretty stiff, then it runs less of a risk of bowing up whenever that foam cures. So keep an eye on it as it cures. If you're unsure, break your foaming up, and just take your time on this step. Okay, this was after about 2 to 3 hours of letting it set up, and now I just come back and check it. Okay, and it felt firm. Everything was good. The bathroom was warm, so everything was setting up, as it should. If the bathroom's cold, it's definitely going to be a slower setting up, so be aware of that. Now, when you go to pop off that foam, if the center of that foam is still kind of gooey, and you see it's still gooey in the holes. Keep letting that set up and let that set up until it's fully firm. Because what that's going to be doing is that's going to be letting out a little air. It's still going to be reacting, and if you try to make the repair and it's still gooey, it's just going to cause bubbles in your repair and it's just going to be a pain. So just let that fully cure. If you need to add a space heater, a little bit of heat there to kind of speed up the curing process, you can do that. But just let that fully cure and make sure you're pretty firm here before you move forward. Okay, that's going to be key. So I've got that all popped off. The floor is firm, and now I need to go ahead and make the repair. So I'm going to grab my 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to use my orbital sander. I'm going to hook my vacuum to it. Um, and then I'm just going to prep this surface here. So um, when I prep this surface, one thing what you're trying to do is on a floor especially is you're going to have a lot of times some sort of traction control. You're going to have some contours on the floor. You want to sand that smooth. Um, if you don't sand that smooth, the glass putty is not going to adhere as well to the surface and it's liable to pop off. So I'm sanding that smooth. I'm sanding the crack down. If there's a lip on your crack, just sand that down and really just make this a nice smooth area. And you see how I'm going outside beyond the crack and beyond the holes because when I make this repair and I add the glass putty to it, it's going to be thicker in the center, right where the crack is, and then it's going to kind of feather out to the edges. So that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping that in mind as I go forward, and I'm just sanding it smooth, making sure to get all the contaminants off the surface as well as the traction, and then I'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so once you have it all sanded down, go ahead and clean it up. You want it to be dust free before we move on to the glass putty. Now we're going to prep the glass putty. So what we use is the blue cream hardener. You apply it to the glass putty and it calls for a 1:50 ratio, and that is going to be hard to measure. So we compare it to like a baseball to a marble. But anyway, look at our ratio that we use here. This is about a third of a jar of glass putty. So look at that ratio. You've got enough to activate both jars of the glass putty and the finish putty. So take your time, fold it over, mix it up really well, and then you're going to spread it on there. Now, once you have this mixed up, you're going to have about 2 to 3 minutes of working time. That's going to kind of depend on how warm of an environment you're in. But take your time. Basically, you want to feather out the edges, make it a little thicker, maybe an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch in the center, and then feather out those edges. And the better you feather the edges now, uh, that'll save you some sanding time in the future. Now, once you have this where you want it, you do want to give it a full 30 minutes to cure before you do the final sand. Now, occasionally you may want to do multiple coats, so you might want to apply 2 or 3 coats of the glass putty, and we don't recommend actually trying to activate and use all of the jar at once. So if you are haven't working with a big repair, we recommend breaking that jar up into about 3 parts, maybe 4 parts, and applying multiple coats. So if you're doing that, you really just have to let the coats cure for about 10 minutes, firm up a little bit before you add that next coat. So we'll talk more about that, but in the meantime, you've got to let that set up for 30 minutes. So how we go through our repairs is while we're letting that set up, we match the color. Now you don't have to do it like that. You can save matching the color and making your coating until the very end. So if you want to step away while the glass putty's setting up, finish out the repair, and then come back and actually match the color, that's no trouble. So what I'm doing here is I'm really just trying to identify what is my base color. And my base color is going to be whichever one is probably on the light side of the tub color, but it's probably got the right shade. So the first one I did was gold white, the second one was gray white, and then the third one here is almond. So you see the gold white, it's lighter, but probably a little bit more the right shade. The gray white definitely has a grayish tint to it, so that's going to be a little difficult. And then the almond is clearly darker. So in this case, I use gold white as my base. Now I know that I'm on a fiberglass tub. So this fiberglass tub is like a very standard tub, one piece tub surround. I know that whenever I go to wipe off my color swatches with acetone, that there's not going to be a negative effect on the surface from that acetone. Now, if you were working on an acrylic or a plastic or a polystyrene tub, you're going to want to be matching your color right next to your repair area, um, just in case you mess up the finish a little bit. You'll coat it whenever you're finishing the repair, so you won't even know it's there. Okay, so here I'm just going to start building up my batch, and I want to achieve the actual color that I'm going for by the time I hit 1 ounce. Now, even if I think I'm going to be making more than 1 ounce, I want to hit that color by 1 ounce so I know how to get there. And building up a larger batch is going to be a lot easier, and I don't run the risk of burning through all of my product trying to achieve the right color. So here I've started out with about 1/2 ounce of gold white, and then I've added a little bit of almond to darken it down. And so when I do this, the process for doing each swatch, and this is just how you got to do it, is stir it up real well, clean that stick off, and then take a clean dip of the product and then do your drop. Put that on the surface, spread it around till it starts to get sticky, and then blow dry it for about 10 seconds. And it's going to darken about 5 shades as it dries. So you're going to see the more of the true color. And that's what you want to do every time you adjust that batch. So here it was still a little light. So I wanted to go ahead and add a little bit of almond to it. Um, and so take your time on this. This is really key to making this repair look good. And our color systems can really hit most tub colors. So most tub colors are going to be between like a gloss white or an almond. And so, 90% of the time, you're going to be able to hit the tub color pretty much spot on with just using our resin. So the key is just to go slowly. Don't add too much product at once, and really do your swatches, make your adjustments, and then work your way there, and slowly build up your batch. That's going to be really key to getting this spot on. That's really the thing. If you do have any questions, you want us to look at anything, or maybe you're going through it and you're unsure, give us a call. A lot of times we can help over the phone, and we've even FaceTimed people who are doing repairs. So give us a shout. We're here to help you, okay? Okay, what's up guys? So you have finished mixing your resin and you have the color matched and you're ready to load it into the pre-valve spray system and you're ready to spray. One thing that we have found is that this is the most probable problem you might run into. We think it happens probably 2 or 3% of the time whenever our customers are using these systems, that they will malfunction, and it can leave you in a situation where you can't spray. So most times you can troubleshoot these systems and get them to work. So we're going to go through that with you right now. So when you pull your pre-valve spray system out of the box, it's going to come like this. Just pull that plastic filter tip off of there, and you can discard that. We always pull that off. Next, shake your system. It feels full. You would know if it was empty. It would be much lighter than if it is full. So now we're ready to do this. So when you load it up, basically you're going to use the outside on the glass jar and you're just going to load it up. So you're going to pour in your mixed resin, and you're going to just basically just measure that out on the outside. Here we're going to have almost 2 ounces. We've got just a little shy of 2 ounces here. So we're going to basically measure using that. It's about 1 3/4 ounces, but the measurement doesn't have to be exact. So remember, it's a 4 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, and 2 parts reducer. So for this, since we're so close to 2 ounces, I'm going to say, okay, we've got 2 ounces of resin. So I'm going to use at least 1/2 ounce of catalyst. Now you can be a little over on your catalyst and reducer, so I'm going to be at least 1/2 ounce, maybe a little more on the catalyst. So here we go. I'm just going to start squirting this in here. And don't get hung up too much on being perfect on this. There is some flexibility. The main thing is that you have the minimum ratio in there. And then you just want to stir it up real well. So we've got about little over 1/2 ounce of catalyst in there. And now I'm going to do about 1 ounce of reducer. And like I said, you can be a little over on both of those. It's not a big deal. You just don't want to be under. That can cause your product to be too thick. So always stir your product with the stir stick. Do not shake the jar. That is one thing that can really cause your system to malfunction, is if you start shaking the jar. So I'm going to just take my time. I'm going to stir it, get all that resin off the bottom, off the walls, and you're really just kind of scraping the bottom and scraping the walls. And you want to get that nice and stirred up, nice and mixed up. Take about a minute and really just stir this well. Now, if you do get into a pickle and you cannot get either sprayer to work, you can call us 877-234-9882. We're going to take care of you. We're going to stand behind you and get you through this project, whatever we have to do. So just be patient and don't panic, and don't get worked up. We're gonna get through this. So if you do have a situation where both sprayers, because we do send you with the backup sprayer, if you get in a situation where both sprayers will absolutely not spray, we're gonna take care of you. So don't stress about that. Okay, I've got my product mixed up. My spray system is ready to go. I've taken the filter cap off. We're good to go. So I'm just going to test this and see. Okay, one other thing. The V-notch on this is not as important as not getting product on the bottom side of this. So if you look here, you can see there is a small pinhole on the bottom side of this plastic base right next to where the straw connects. There's a little pinhole. That is for breathing. You do not want product to get up in that pinhole. So just be aware of that. Don't tilt it too far. Don't shake it up. Just try to keep product off the bottom side of that plastic base. So here we go. We're going to just test it and see how this one works. This is fresh out of the box, so we're going to find out. Now, when you're first spraying it, I like to hold it vertically, and I like to just test it on my glove or on a paper towel. Okay, and this one is just spraying just fine. So there's no issue on this one. So I'm going to actually just set this off to the side. So we've got a good sprayer here, so we're just going to set this off to the side. I'll test this other sprayer. You never know. We might run into one that does need troubleshoot, and so that would make well for this demonstration, but we're going to see. So when you pull these out, these backups, you know, shake it, make sure you got, it's full. Take that filter cap off, attach the straw, and then we're good to go. So we're going to test this one out and see how we're spraying. If it's spraying well, we're just going to go ahead and walk through the troubleshooting steps anyway, and we'll see. So, yeah, okay. So this one's spraying good. See, and it actually is starting to peter out. So we're actually going to troubleshoot this one. So I'm glad it's happening on one of these. Okay, so if you run into a situation where maybe it starts to peter out like that, maybe it's blowing bubbles in the jar, seems to be a common deal. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and take your canister off the glass jar, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to, this is standard procedure, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a little bit more reducer, maybe about 1/4 ounce, and I'm going to set that off to the side. Give it another stir, especially if your product's been sitting for a while. You want to stir it up again. Make sure you've got all that mixed up in there. Okay, so that's step one for troubleshooting it, is just add a little bit more reducer and then stir it up. And then what we're going to do is, this is basically a trash can. You want to have a trash can nearby and some paper towels. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this straw off the canister, and I'm going to get my acetone. Now my acetone bottle, it always comes with a trigger spray in your box. You want to connect this to your acetone bottle. So the straw is going to be a little longer than the bottle. Just push it down in there, screw it on, and then make sure you're spraying. It does have a locking mechanism here on the side, so make sure you're unlocked and that it is spraying. So we're spraying. I'm just going to butt that up to the straw, and I'm going to just clear that straw out. Doesn't have to be perfectly clean. But if you run acetone through there a little bit, it's going to clear that out, no problem. So, okay, so the straw is clean enough. So I'm going to set that off to the side near the jar. Now this is crucial. You always check that pinhole, make sure that pinhole is clear. If it's not clear, maybe you've gotten product up onto the bottom side of there. You can just kind of spray acetone at that pinhole, get that acetone in there, and then shake it out. Make sure you don't have any product blocking that pinhole. Now next, you want to take, okay, we've got the tip here. You want to take your trigger sprayer, butt it up to where the straw connects, and I use my finger kind of just to make that a firm connection, and then you're just going to force acetone through the system and squirt it down into the trash can. Now you really want it squirting out. So this is coming out, it's squirting out pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with where this is. Squirt it for a while until you really think it's coming out clear. Okay, so that's coming out clear. Now I'm gonna take my canister. I'm gonna hold my hand back here because it's liable to spit back on you, and just dry fire that down into the trash can. Shake it off a little bit. Wipe any of it out that you got, especially if you cleaned out the bottom of the base. You want to wipe that off. Okay, and now we're ready to go. So I'm reattaching the straw. I'm going to fit this down in there, and let's see if we've got it spraying now. So test it on your glove, a cardboard box. Okay, and now we're spraying. So that is how you troubleshoot these pre-valves. So if you have any situation where your pre-valve is maybe not working correctly, see, this one is actually a tough one. So this is being a tough pre-valve, but we can, if it peters out, to get you through this project, you may have to troubleshoot it. It's unfortunate. We are, we're kind of strapped to this product. It's a good product. It's good technology. It's really innovative. But, with like anything, sometimes there are little bugs in the design or whatever. And right now, this is what the best we got to work with. And you know, we hopefully Preval is doing innovation to correct some of these issues. But you know, basically, you want to just troubleshoot this. You will get through the project. I do believe we'll get this working again. Sometimes you do have to troubleshoot them a couple times too. I've even had to troubleshoot one 3 times, and it did work. It ended up working. If you watch our live demonstration on this, I ended up troubleshooting one 3 times, and then it worked really well after that. So just take your time, get that acetone flowing through the system, clear it out again, and then let's try to spray it again. So you notice we got that last one working. It seemed to work a little longer that time. So let's do it again. Okay, now we're spraying again. In fact, it's really spraying much better than it was even before. So now I feel like we really got it fixed here, which is, that's what we want to see. So that was a prime example of troubleshooting your Preval spray system. I'm so glad this one malfunctioned on us, but that is what you can run into sometimes. One other thing to be aware of whenever you're spraying your system, we've realized that this also might be really a primary reason why you might be running into problems. So it's not necessarily what you're doing, you're tilting it, it's your motion while you're spraying. So we have troubleshooted this with many customers, and we've realized that the motion that you're doing your sprayer is probably causing a lot of people issues. So when you spray your system, you just want to go, you know, basically nice, smooth, back and forth, and just do a 50-50 overlap and work your way down the repair. So that's, you know, that's basically how you want that motion to go. Okay. What you do not want to do is you do not want to be jerking it back and forth, because that's going to cause issues. So you need to, there, see, and it took a second for it to reprime, but now it's going again. So just use nice, smooth motions. That is a problem, and I think that is a problem that's causing people issues, is your motion while you're doing it. So, like I said, don't be shaking it back and forth while you're trying to spray it. Get it reprimed. See, and now that actually did cause this one issues, so I would need to troubleshoot it again. But that is a key. I think that's causing a lot of people issues, so be aware of that. And so troubleshoot that one. If that doesn't work, switch to your backup. If that doesn't work and you have tried to troubleshoot both of these and you just can't get them to work, if you're in a pickle, you can go to an O'Reilly's, an AutoZone, and pick up another spray canister, or call us. If you get in a spot where you just can't proceed, your sprayers are not working, we're going to take care of you. We'll send you more sprayers. We'll send you more product if you need it. So don't stress. Don't worry about that. You're going to get through this. So thanks for taking your time to watch this video. Give us a call if you have any questions about it. We're here behind you, okay? Thanks for choosing the Tub Repair Company, tubrepairstore.com. Okay, so now we're going to be prepping our coating. So there's a few things you want to know. First thing is, when you take that Preval out of the box, you want to pull that filter cap off of the straw. Second thing is to take note where that vent hole is. When you go to spray, you want that vent hole facing up or back towards you, and not down towards the tub floor. So as we're building up our product and we're going to measure it out, always use the Preval glass jar to measure your product, and don't use the paper cups. The paper cups can be about an 1/8 ounce off sometimes. So use the glass jar to measure your product. So your ratio is going to be 4 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, and 2 parts reducer. That is the minimum ratio. Don't be under that ratio. You can be over that ratio. So if you're going to err on over a little bit. We say anywhere from 412 up to 423. So take your time, measure it out. And don't be fooled by the meniscus. So there's a thing called the meniscus where the product will actually curve up the jar a little bit on the edges. And it can curve up about an eighth ounce. So don't be fooled by that as well. Just be sure you're getting enough and really hitting those ratios or going a little over. And then you want to be sure to stir this up very well whenever you're doing it. Really scrape the walls and the floor, get the resin off of that and completely mixed up. Also, as you're building up your batch here, you don't want to have more than about 3.5 ounces in that jar. The more full that jar gets, the more prone it is to backfire and kind of spit out that vent hole. So be aware of that. If you've got more than 3.5 ounces, pour the excess into a separate cup and then add it as you need it. But keep that batch down around 3.5 or less as you spray it. Once you're ready to go, just set that aside, and then we're on the downhill slope here, um, and we can move forward. So the next thing we're going to do is I've got the coating built up, and now I'm ready to sand my glass putty. So I've let this cure for at least 30 minutes. The glass putty is no longer warm to the touch, but it's back to room temperature. So if it's been 30 minutes, but that glass putty is still warm to the touch, continue to let it cure until it cools off. Then once you're ready to go, use your 80 grit sandpaper. Feather around the edges first. You do want to knock down those edges to where they're smooth, and then go over the middle. Now, this doesn't have to be perfectly smooth in the middle. You'll probably have some divots and things like that. That's common. We'll fix those with the finish putty. Um, the main thing is you want to have some girth and some durability in the center, and then you want to feather down the edges. This is really as structurally sound as your repair is going to be after this. So be sure you're happy with how firm it is before you move forward. Okay, so once you finish sanding, you're going to want to test your durability at this point. This is going to be as strong as your repair is going to be. So if you need to add more glass putty, or by chance you feel like you need to add a little foam, now is the time to do that before you finish out this repair. So take your time on it. Once you're finished and you're happy with it, wipe it down real well with acetone, and we'll get ready to add the finish putty and make it nice and smooth. Okay, so time for the finish putty. Same concept as the glass putty. It's 1 to 50 ratio. You've got enough hardener to activate it all, so uh, you don't have to overdo it. We give you plenty of finish putty really to do some pretty large repairs, so should have more than enough to do it. Now you don't have to do a super thick coat, but you want it thick enough to where you can really make it all smooth. Now here you've got about 90 seconds. Once it's all mixed up, you've got about 60 to 90 seconds to spread it out and actually work with it. So just be aware of that. You don't have to be in a panic, but you're just trying to really just get one even coat over the top of all that glass putty, so then you can go back and sand it smooth. Now, this doesn't add any kind of structural support. This is really just cosmetic to make it smooth. Um, but anyway, I just stick as much on there as I can, and then I just spread it out nice and thin, doesn't have to be real thick. And then, like I said, you've got about 60 to 90 seconds to play with it. And then you'll have to let it set up for 15 minutes at least before you go back and sand it down. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. Now you're ready to sand. Use your 120 grit sandpaper, feather around the edges, and then go over the middle and make sure it's all smooth. Just a tip, if you can feel it, you'll be able to see it whenever you spray it. So be sure it's all smooth and good to go after this step. Now, once you get done sanding it, be sure to clean your work area very well. The next step, we're going to be applying the coating. We're going to be using the blow dryer to dry the coating. We don't want to be blowing dust into the repair. So clean the area very well after this step as you get ready to move forward. Okay, so you're finished sanding, you've got everything cleaned up, and now we're going to get ready to spray the coating. So first you want to wipe your primer on. So the little gold solution, pour it on a paper towel and wipe it all over and around your repair, and then you want to dry it. Make sure it doesn't look wet whenever you get ready to spray it. So I dry it for about 10 to 20 seconds here and just dry it up a little bit. Okay, once that's kind of dried up, now you're ready to spray. So we just hold the sprayer back about 12 inches. Now be aware of where that vent hole is, the little V notch in the base of the glass jar there. Make sure that's facing up and not down. And make sure your jar is not full too much with the product. So you want it about 3.5 ounces or less. The more full you have it, it can backfire out of that vent hole. So just fog it on here. You're not trying to color the whole thing on one go. Now, in between coats here, I am giving it 60 seconds and blow drying it with a blow dryer. So I know we don't show that here to save time, but give it time, 60 seconds or so with the blow dryer. Dry that each coat in between coats. So this is actually my third coat here. It's starting to build up. We're starting to actually get the repair actually fully covered. So this is where you kind of add any finishing touches that you need to. So we've got it pretty well covered. Now I'm going to start feathering out the edges. And this is really where you can kind of blend it. Now keep in mind, this coating as it dries, it's going to darken about 5 shades. So it's really going to settle into that tub color nicely. So go ahead and build it up. I always recommend at least one more coat after you feel like it's fully coated. Go an additional 1 or 2 coats just to make sure that coating is thick enough. And then feather it out. Just back that sprayer out a little bit and just kind of feather those edges. It'll make it look really good. Now, if you are having any trouble spraying your sprayer, there is an instructional video on step number 5. There's a QR code on how to troubleshoot your pre-valve, take it apart, spray acetone through it. There's also a demonstration at the end of this video of how to clean out your pre-valve. That's basically what you'll do to troubleshoot the pre-valve. Okay, so once you get this fully coated and you're happy with it, you want to give it 24 hours to cure before you go back and actually do any kind of final wet sand or anything on it. So, um, in your kits, you'll have between 600 and 3,000 grit sandpaper. So if you want to knock down any rough areas, sometimes the overspray around the edges can build up and be a little rough, or that center can be very glossy, and maybe you want to knock that gloss down and make it more of a flat finish. Use that fine sandpaper, wet sand it with water, um, and that will flatten out your repair. Um, so give it 24 hours to cure. Once it's done, going forward, you want to avoid using bleach to clean the repair. That can yellow it over time, so be careful with that. Another thing is you want to avoid any kind of perpetual standing water on the repair. So if you have a low spot in your tub and maybe water is being held on that repair, you want to be sure to let wipe that out or let the water drain out of that in between uses so it can actually dry out. If the coating stays perpetually wet, that can cause issues. Um, if the coating is a little slippery or anything, you can use a shower mat. We don't recommend using ones with suction cups, but you can use a shower mat. Just be sure to pick it up off the floor and let that coating dry out in between uses. So that's really it. If you guys have any questions along the way, if there's anything we can help you with, be sure to give us a call. You can contact us at 877 234 9882. We're standing by. We're ready to help you. So if you're in the project and you have any questions, don't panic. Just give us a call. If we don't pick up, leave a voicemail. We will call you back. At any point in this process, just don't panic. Just give us a call. So good luck. I hope we can save you a ton of money.